Yo, what is going on, guys? Got an interesting video for you here today. Judge destroys a woman who falsely accused her husband. Now, as we get into this one, guys, you are going to realize what a clown this woman actually is, and we are going to see a judge actually not take the woman's side for once. So let's jump in. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and your comments.
How am I, I live on $1,000 a month. So paying $300, what am I looking at there? I've been on disability now for a few years, and I live on, minimal funds, obviously, because they don't pay very much. So I just feel like, John has taken every advantage that he can of me in the past and still does. So I'm unaware about any, yeah, I think so. But there was the child support was completely stricken.
I don't see that order of 2012 was ever stricken, so it's still in effect.
All I know is that there was never any child support.
Is there an order that says that child support was waived? This is a motion for contempt brought by Ms. Wanzer related to medical expenses in Florida and also expenses related to travel for graduation of Hope. State your reasons why you think contempt is appropriate.
Sure, Your Honor. Just that they moved to Florida, and that John had made some pretty big promises to Hope to get her to move to Florida with him. She did not really want to go. He has, assured the Ann Height that, he would pay for her round trips to come home for vacations, which did not happen, and was found in contempt for March when she came home because he did not pay. And moving forward, going to graduation, I had asked that, Hope, pick us up, as she had a broken car. And so I said, well, can you have your dad?
Answer related to medical expenses in Florida and also expenses related to travel for graduation of Hope.
I have the money to rent cars. He made it nothing but harder for me to come. I'm on a very limited income. I'm on permanent disability.
Let me just pause it here, man. This woman has ranted so much already and has said absolutely nothing. Look at the, the ex-husband's face, by the way. I mean, ex-husband, obviously, because he's on child support here, right? This guy is just absolutely done. Now, what you'll notice throughout this entire video is that this woman will basically try and frame herself as a victim throughout the entire thing. Oh, I'm on disability. The man took advantage of me. I have no income, blah, blah, blah. I guarantee you a lot of the women going through this situation, by the way, they divorced their husband because they are looking to get a paycheck out of him. They are fully capable of working, but they just don't want to work. It gets to a point, guys, I'm surprised there are not more of these judges, as we'll see soon. I'm surprised there's not more of these judges who just see through the nonsense of what this really is, of women just trying to get more money from the men. Also, I believe in this woman's situation, the 18 years is running up, so she's running out, excuse me. So it's looking like she might no longer get the child support, so she can't live off the man as easily anymore.
And he had stated that he would help me any way possible in accommodating me to come to Florida if I come to see her round trip. So that was that one. And I only put in for 50% of what I paid. I just thought that was fair. And also,
could I ask you a question on that, Ms. Wanzer?
Sure.
Related to your travel expenses to Florida, is there a court order that requires Mr. Miranda to pay for a rental car for travel expenses?
No, it was just stated that it was kind of a open statement there that he would just help me with accommodations when I came, if I were to come round trip.
Okay. All right. Thanks. And then why don't you tell me about the medical expenses?
The medical expenses, she's on his insurance, and she got very sick a week before graduation and had to go to the ER. Also, she had, told her dad that she was sick, and he was just like, whatever. Anyways, I just kind of feel like she was still in school, that he should be taking care of her.
Notice how she worded her story, claiming their child never wanted to go to Florida and that her dad was deliberately ignoring the health of their daughter. This was very intentional.
Oh yeah, of course, right? Because you have to frame the dude like he's bad. That's what happens in all of these situations, guys. You have to frame the ex-husband as if he's some evil dude who, you know, just wanted to steal the kid away to a different location where the kid didn't even want to go, apparently. So this woman would have you believe that not only is this dude just taking the kid to the different state, but the child doesn't want to go whatsoever. She's also trying to convince you that the father is just completely neglecting the health of the kid. And I've actually seen this so many times, guys, to the point where I no longer believe this nonsense. I'm of the belief that most men actually do care about their children and their children's health, no matter what these women like to try and spin as part of their story. But let's keep going.
Was deliberately ignoring the health of their daughter. This was very intentional and meant to portray the husband in a controlling and neglective point of view, despite that not being the case in reality.
So thank you, Ms. Wanzer. Hope turned 18 on April 4th,
Yes,
and the hospitalization was middle of May, I believe, the 15th.
middle of May. And she was still in high school. Yes.
Okay. And the temporary child support order, I saw that the child support order related to uninsured medical expenses was dated December 14th of 2012. So that's the document that I'm looking at. Is that the same document you're looking at that relates to uninsured medical expenses?
I'm unaware about any. Yeah, I think so. But there was no the child support was completely stricken.
I don't see that order of 2012 was ever stricken, so it's still in effect.
All I know is that there was never any child support. John had waived it. We had decided together that we had waived it. Also, and
Is there an order that says that child support was waived?
no, we did it privately
Okay. All right.
with support enforcement.
What other information do you want to share about your motions for contempt?
Well, just that, that he has stated in the previous court hearing that we had in contempt, that he had made statements that he was didn't pay for Hope's plane ticket because he was providing her with a ticket to come home for the summer for an extended stay, which he hasn't. In fact, I just purchased her a ticket to come home next week.
Is that part of your motion for contempt? I didn't see that.
No, I'm just saying it shows to character of just how I can't count on his word even in paper.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Wanzer.
You can tell this judge has absolutely had it, man. You know, he's trying to ask the necessary questions, but you can tell that he's like, well, what the hell is this woman even here for in the first place, guys? You know, I think in a lot of these situations, what ends up happening is that women are just scared that the dude is no longer going to be paying them child support now that the child is 18. The dude has, in all likelihood, cleared his debt, as it were, to some random woman. And now she's pissed because she actually has to go out there and earn her own funds rather than just live off the man. Guys, it is crazy to me how children are not just required to live with a parent who can financially take care of them. You know, it's just crazy how these dudes are indebted to women from literally 18 years ago who don't even care about them, who are just using them for the paycheck. Like, let's be clear about it. These women, when they are leaving these relationships, they are actively doing it so that they can secure a retirement plan from the man. And this judge has probably seen this many times. So let's keep going.
Even in paper.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Wanzer. Mr. Randall, what's your perspective on the two issues? Or I guess the one issue on the medical expenses, because I think the travel graduation expenses, there's no order that requires that. So I'm denying that motion for the contempt of that portion. So the focus is on the medical expenses at this point.
Yes, sir. So I provide insurance. I will continue to provide health insurance for Hope, my daughter, as long as I can keep her covered. But I had told her previously to schedule a doctor's appointment when she had first told me that she was having some pains. I was not like, whatever. I told her to go see our family doctor and schedule an appointment.
Wow, what a surprise. So the man actually did give a damn, and he said, well, listen, she's feeling unwell. Go get her straight to the doctors. I'm going to assume that the child was with the woman at that point in time, as he's instructing her to go to the doctors. But notice, guys, how the difference in character that's being portrayed here, right? This woman is saying that the dude is entirely neglectful. He didn't care that the child was in pain or sick or whatever the case may be, and he didn't particularly give a damn. But when you actually speak to the dude, his first thing was like instantly, let's get the child to the doctors so we can see what the hell is wrong. Very, very different pictures that are being painted here. And this is something I've noticed with a lot of divorces or people splitting up and things like this, is the women will oftentimes do character attacks to try and misrepresent how the man actually is and try and paint him in an uncharitable light. Okay, this is a very, very common strategy that, hey, is even being used in courtrooms, apparently. This is why, guys, I really don't like a lot of these civil cases that take on very serious cases, civil situations that take on serious cases, rather, is because the burden of proof is not very high. And if you have a jury of a whole bunch of women, they're just going to side with whoever makes this sort of emotional appeal argument, right? It's not going to be based in reality. It's just going to be based off of how she feels the man was in a particular moment in time, even if it wasn't true whatsoever. It's completely stupid.
Hope is a procrastinator and didn't do that immediately. So a day or two after, she had scheduled an appointment after talking with her mom. She never made it to that appointment because she went to the emergency room that evening.
Okay, excuse me. He was instructing the child to immediately go and get the doctor's appointment.
I kind of had a conversation with Hope after returning from the emergency room, just letting her know that, the costs are going to be exorbitant because you went to the emergency room. Everything is, it seems like almost double. And I said, if you'd have gone to the doctor's appointment, something may have been able to be done at the doctor's, which would have been relatively cheaper, and the insurance would have covered a good majority of it. Granted, the insurance covered almost more than 90% of the emergency room, so that was great. I didn't think that it was out of question to help my daughter understand that the process of going to the emergency room, that a bill comes along with that. I asked her to contact the hospital, let them know the situation that she is in, that she just turned 18. She's still, just about to graduate from high school, in the hopes that maybe they would either waive this or move it to, to a minimal payback. That was my ultimate hope for it, Your Honor.
Yeah, it's so when you actually take a listen to the man, it's not that he doesn't care about the child. It really isn't. He's just trying to obviously not have to pay a ridiculous amount of medical fees, and he's also trying to explain to the child how these things work. This child would probably benefit from understanding how these things work going forward, especially as she goes into adulthood. It's not like this dude was just a complete a-hole and he didn't particularly give a damn, as the woman painted him out to be when she initially introduced him. You've got to be very careful with these sorts of stories, guys. Whenever I hear these stories from women of like, oh, my ex-boyfriend was terrible, or my ex-husband was terrible, I typically don't believe it, especially if I've never spoken to the man myself, because usually it's not the case. Yes, there are a lot of bad eggs out there. There are a lot of bad men, and women are very, very good at picking the bad men. Make no mistake about that. Usually the guy is not being presented fairly whatsoever. So I think the dude had really valid concerns here. He was speaking to the child about it. Makes absolute sense to me. It probably makes absolute sense to the judge, Michael Evans, up here as well.
To a minimal payback. That was my ultimate hope for it, Your Honor. And in asking Hope to take charge of that, it was, she would like to be treated as an adult. And, but with the treatment of, asking to be treated like an adult comes this responsibility. So I asked her to take care of it. Next thing I know, I'm being served with papers as far as the contempt hearing here.
So as we can see, he is a normal guy and a good father, not the controlling or neglecting man she claimed he was. I also find it concerning how the mom tried to use their daughter, getting sick as excuse to serve the father papers.
Yeah, of course she did, right? Of course she did. She was probably waiting for this opportunity so that she could turn around and do this. This guy, you can tell, if we go back here and you look at this dude's expression, right? He was like, what the hell's happening here, man? I'm getting just randomly served with these court orders. I have to appear now because my crazy ex-wife has dragged me back to this situation once again. It's completely ridiculous, guys. She was absolutely waiting for a situation like this to happen so that she could actually take him to court and try and get more money out of him. Any excuse to continue to try and get funds out of the man.
Or neglecting man she claimed he was. I also find it concerning how the mom tried to use their daughter, getting sick as excuse to serve the father papers.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask you, if I may. So the temporary child support order of December 2012 indicates that there's a division of responsibility for uninsured medical expenses, a 31-69 split. My question, I guess, is that as the person providing the insurance to the insured, Hope, if there's a remaining balance, the obliger or the party responsible for that is the policyholder, is it not?
I would say that ultimately, yes, they would come after me if Hope didn't pay it. Yes.
Right. Yeah. If Hope decides not to pay it, then they're going to come after you for payment.
That is correct.
So, and this just happened in May, and now we're just barely into August. Okay. Okay. All right. That's helpful. Let me just look at one item here.
Your Honor, when you have a second, I have one more question for you.
I'm ready. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, now that Hope is 18, has graduated high school, and, she is working, when is she actually considered an adult, and where does our parenting agreement kind of end when she is, considered an adult?
So there's a parenting plan that was issued on September 30th of 2022. And then when a person turns 18, the parenting plan is done because she's a person of age of majority at this point.
Yeah, and see, this is what the woman was actively pissed off about. This is why she's trying to drag his ass to court, at least in my opinion, is because now what's happening here is this dude is no longer on the hook to pay for child support. He no longer has to deal with his crazy ex-wife. He no longer has to continue to transfer her funds, which, by the way, again, these women are actively not using on the children, at least the majority of it. It is absolutely going towards themselves. This is why men have such an issue with paying this, by the way, is because everybody knows that not 100% of the funds are going towards the children. These women are actively living off of these funds, and that's why they go through these processes, is because they know that they can continue to take resources from the man. So now that the 18 years is over, the kid has turned 18, she's an adult now, legally speaking, then he no longer is obliged to continue to do this. And of course, this is a massive problem for the leech over here, who is trying to live off of these finances still. It's amazing, guys, how society supports this, in my opinion, man. I think it actively just straight up discourages men from having relationships, having families, and things like this. I mean, there's many reasons why dudes don't want to do this, but this is certainly a big one because women can just walk away from marriage and relationships and essentially just try and rob you. Again, I think the child should be with whoever is financially capable of actually taking care of the child to begin with. If the woman's not if she's not able to take care of the child, she shouldn't be having the child.
Because she's a person of age of majority at this point. She's no longer a minor.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Ms. Wanzer, do you have any just brief response?
Not really, Your Honor, just that, I've been on disability now for a few years and I live on, minimal funds, obviously, because they don't pay very much. So I just feel like, John has taken every advantage that he can of me in the past and still does. So that's just, that's pretty much it.
So because she feels as if he has taken advantage of her, she thinks it is okay to literally take advantage of their daughter getting sick to serve the father papers and be dishonest about what actually happened.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so there are two grounds which Ms. Wanzer brought a motion for contempt. The first was the travel expenses to Florida. So any order or any motion for contempt necessarily needs to be based on a court order. And then the allegation needs to be that a person violated or did not follow that court order. So as I mentioned earlier, there was no court order that required Mr. Miranda to make any expenditures related to travel for the graduation trip or what have you. So I'll deny that portion of the contempt.
Just by the way, I think she was probably straight up lying about this as well. She was probably just trying to get more money out of the dude, because apparently they privately agreed to it. you know. And it sounds to me like this also could have been the dude just saying, hey, listen, I could find you a place. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to pay for it for you. But this woman literally brings his ass to court because she's trying to get money out of him for traveling to this graduation ceremony, as it were. It's so crazy to me, guys. Again, I guarantee you, if you were to sit down and logically pick through this woman's story, it would probably make no sense whatsoever in any capacity. Also, she's on disability pension or whatever the hell it's called, as she continually brings up here. I guarantee you she has the capability of working. She just doesn't want to. I think she's probably had the capability of working for many years now, but she, along with many other women and individuals, like to live off of this disability crap so that they don't actually have to work. That, coupled with child support, is probably how she's been paying her rent. Note, I said her rent, for these last few years.
The other portion is that the medical expenses for the emergency room visit, it sounds like she wasn't doing well for a period of time. There was encouragement to take a different action. She got the help that she needed, maybe whether it was timely or maybe a little later than hoped for. And then there's about a $1,100 bill that's outstanding. So the child support and health insurance is a little bit different in that health insurance generally, parents can keep their children on their coverage up until about age 25 is pretty common across the country. And here we have Mr. Miranda's indicating that, you know, he's the obliger, he's the contracting party with the insurance company. So eventually they would come after him for the balance. But here there is an existing temporary child support order. It's temporary and it's old, but it's from 2012. It requires Ms. Wanzer to pay child support, but we're not here on that issue. We're here on that says that if there's uninsured medical expenses, then there's a split of 31% and 69%. So there's no clear indication that the child support obligation ends at age 18, because it's often common that children will turn 18 and still be involved in educational pursuits at the secondary level, high school. So here, I think that obligation continues. So both parties are responsible for the $1,049.89 in a calculus of 31% of Ms. Wanzer and 69% of Mr. Miranda. So that's what the parties are obligated to pay the hospital. As far as the contempt, I think there needs to be a willful and bad faith refusal to comply with the court order. So here, the court order is over 11, well, almost 11 years old. There was in a relatively short period of time from the provision of services until the contempt was filed. There was some question related to age of majority and the like. So I'm going to deny the contempt, but just make clear that the parties are responsible in that percentage division for payment to the hospital for the services rendered to Hope. So I'm denying both motions for contempt. However, both parties kind of have a clear idea of what the responsibility is under the child support order from 2012 that.
Oh, she is not too happy about this. So what this essentially means is she's going to have to pay in excess of $390. What is that, like $420 something or something? She's now going to have to pay, when it seems to me like she was trying to get the dude on the hook for the entire thing. So this guy denies both of these things, essentially, makes her have to pay for this and just completely ignores her nonsense. And notice, guys, in the story, as always, the dude is not nearly as bad, if at all, as being painted out by the woman. Absolutely classic stuff here. A little bit confusing towards the end. It sounded to me like the dude actually did. It sounds to me still like his financial obligations insofar as child support have ended. So he's probably quite happy about that. I'm not sure if it actually will still extend, but earlier in the video it said, the judge said to him that those obligations seem to be terminated. But still, she's also required to pay 39% of the medical bill. So this is hilarious, guys. You know, I wonder how many court cases like this come up to judges every single day or every single week, where the woman is trying to drag the dude to court for essentially nothing because she's concerned that her payments are running out. But guys, we're going to be leaving today's episode there. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and your comments. Make sure you guys take care of yourselves, and I'll be seeing you all in the next one. Peace.